1 sun, 2 glue, 3 tree. Oh, hi students, it's me, Aaron Cohen. I was just reviewing some of the chapters of our memory system to fall asleep. Hey, I have an idea. Why don't you come with me on a little review trip? Let's begin in chapter 1. Do you remember? Chapter 1 was all about the laws of the Korban Olah, the burnt offering. Remember, the Olah can be a male bull, goat, sheep, or even turtle, dove, or pigeon, and there needed to be no blemishes, that's right, no cuts or bruises or anything that made it look abnormal. And this was a free will offering given just because you wanted to give an offering to God. It was burnt totally up on the altar after all the steps of preparation were done, and none of it was eaten. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Each chapter has a memory trick to help us remember it. So 1 rhymes with sun. And our silly story about the burnt offering, the Korban Olah, was that when the Kohen put the offering on the altar, all of a sudden, fire would come from the sun and totally burn up the offering, and none was eaten. Well, that brings us to Perek Bet. That's chapter 2, which speaks about the Korban Mincha. A mincha, if you remember, was an offering made mainly of flour with sometimes oil and frankincense mixed in, but no chametz, that's leavened products that rise like bread, and no honey allowed. Salt was always put on every offering, including the Korban Mincha. There were 5 types of Korban Mincha. There was Minchat Solet, which was made of fine flour, Mafei Tanur, baked in an oven, Machavat, which was shallow fried, Marcheshet, deep fried, and once a year on Shavuot, the Mincha was baked as Chametz. It was baked in 2 loaves called the Shtei HaLechem, accompanied by 2 lambs for the holiday of Shavuot. There was also one more interesting type of Mincha offered on Pesach called the Omer. This type of Mincha was made from barley, the first barley crop of the year, to celebrate the harvest, and after that, you were allowed to eat new grain for that year. Well, the mincha was not allowed to be eaten until a 3-fingered fistful called a kometz was thrown on the mizbeach, on the altar. And now for the silly story. Remember that Perek Bet is chapter 2, which rhymes with glue. That's right, to get all those ingredients of the mincha to stick together, the Kohen used some handy-dandy Elmer's glue to get it stuck together. Just be careful. Don't let the 3-fingered fistful of the kometz get in the glue. Ah! Now my fingers are stuck together. And now, let's remember Perek Gimel. That's chapter 3. In Perek Gimel, we learn all about the Korban Shlamim, the peace offering from the word shalom, peace. And it was called the Korban Shlamim because everybody received a piece. God received a piece of the fats. The selected fats were given on the altar. The Kohen that brought it received special parts of the animal, and the owners got to eat it as well. The Korban Shlamim could be a male or female cow, goat, or sheep, and just like the other korbanot, it was not allowed to have any blemishes. In this chapter, the Torah mentions to us the special law that we are not allowed to eat any blood. Ew, who would want it anyway? Or chalev. Now, chalev is forbidden fat. No, you can eat fat, but regular fat, kosher fat, is called shuman. Chalev was the gross fat covering the stomach, which God said we may not eat. And the silly memory story was that 3 rhymes with tree. That's right. And the Kohanim were just sitting peacefully under a tree, eating their Korban Shlamim, their peace offering, when suddenly they remembered they had to give a piece to everyone. So they took the branch of the tree, and they slingshotted the piece up to God. And then they slingshotted one to the owners. And they slingshotted one to the Kohanim that helped. And 3 rhymes with tree, which is about the peacefully offering eaten under the tree and sent up to you and me. This brings us to Perek Daled, which is chapter 4. And in Perek Daled, chapter 4, we learn about the 4 types of Korban Chatat, sin offering. The first one for the Kohen Gadol, who brought a bull if he did a sin that's punishable by karet, a serious sin that one would die young. If that was done by mistake, that is why one would bring a Korban Chatat. Then the Chatat Sibor, each of the 12 tribes would bring a bull for a total of 12 bulls in the unlikely event that the Sanhedrin, the high court, made a mistaken ruling causing most of the Jewish people to sin. Finally, the Melech, the king, or the Nasi, the leader of the Sanhedrin, would bring a goat if they did a sin punishable by karet. And finally, the average Jew, a Yachid, an individual, would bring a sheep if he did such a sin. And now for the silly story, 4 rhymes with door. And in chapter 4, which rhymes with door, we learned about a special door. It's called the sinning door. Don't go in the sin door. That door has 4 panels, and each panel takes another type of sin offering. The panel number 1 on the door is the sin offering of the Kohen Gadol, the sin offering of the community, the king or the Nasi or the Yachid. Don't go into the sin door, or you will have to bring a sin offering. Well, now, let's give a look at Perek Hey, chapter 5. You remember Perek Hey, chapter 5 deals with the Korban Asham, the guilt offering brought for 3 specific types of sins. The first one is swearing falsely in court about money. The second one is going to the temple, the Bet HaMikdash, while impure. And the third is if somebody made an oath, a promise, and then broke that oath. There's another type of asham called an asham me'ilot. Me'ila means stealing from the temple, from hekdesh, holy property. For example, if somebody made an animal that was supposed to be given as a korban unfit by riding it and hurt it, they would have to give the price of that animal plus 1/5, that's 20% tax as a fine, and they would bring a ram to the Bet HaMikdash. That is the asham. A very important detail about the asham is that an asham is called an olev yored. It goes up and down in price based on how rich or poor the person is. A rich person would bring an animal, a poorer person would bring 2 birds, and the poorest person would just bring a mincha offering without any oil or frankincense. The silly story for chapter 5, which rhymes with hive, is that there is a special beehive, a hive called the Asham hive.
That's right. If anyone commits a sin, like going to the temple while impure, we come and we get him, boys. Let's get him. I'm being consumed. And we tell him you should be ashamed of yourself. Be ashamed. Hey, look, there's someone who committed me'ilah. Let's go get him. Let's consume that ram. Hey, look, there's some money over there. Let's consume that extra 20% tax. Be ashamed and don't sin, or the asham bees will get you.
Okay, students, now it's time to test your knowledge. So, we learned all these perakim, Perek Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, and Hey. Chapter 1, which rhymes with sun. Chapter 2, which rhymes with glue. Chapter 3, which rhymes with... That's right, tree. Chapter 4, which rhymes with... That's correct, door. Chapter 5, which rhymes with... That's right, hive. Now, I, Aaron the Kohen Gadol, have some questions for you. If you know the answer, please raise your hand. I'm watching. Okay, first question is, in which chapter would I find information about the kometz, the 3-fingered fistful offered with the korban mincha? Dun, 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 dun. If you said it was chapter 2, which rhymes with glue, you are correct. Now here's another question for you. In which chapter would I find information about the asham me'ilot, the guilt offering brought for stealing money from the Bet HaMikdash? Dun, 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 dun. That's correct. Chapter 5, which rhymes with hive. And which chapter would I find information about a korban which is completely burnt up, called the korban olah? You got it. Perek Aleph, chapter 1, which rhymes with sun. And which chapter would I find the law that you may not eat blood or forbidden fats? Boom, 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 boom. Still give up? Well, it has to do with the laws of the Karban Shlamim, the peace offering. You got it, chapter 3, which rhymes with tree. One more question. When would it happen that 12 bulls would be offered? That's right, 1 bull for each tribe for a sin committed by most of the Jewish people. That's right, you know it. It's in chapter 4, which rhymes with door, if the Sanhedrin made a mistake. You guys have been great students. I'm really proud of you. Now go study more and learn a lot of Torah. As for me, I'm going back to bed. Shh.